Have you ever tried timing how quickly 40 seconds passes? It's just enough time to take a sip of water, stretch, or scroll through one or two photos on your phone. It's fleeting, harmless, and seems to hold no significance in the endless flow of time. But in a peaceful rural area of Japan, those 40 seconds became a deadly black hole, completely swallowing a human being. No sound, no trace, no farewell. A 4-year-old boy, laughing happily right before his father's eyes, suddenly vanished into thin air as if he had never existed. The case I am about to tell you is not just a tragedy, but a persistent haunting that has lasted over 3 decades, defying all human logic and reason. The story begins on a clear spring morning in the land of the rising sun. It was March 7th, 1989, in Komatsushima town, Tokushima Prefecture, a place famous for its majestic nature and the legendary Naruto whirlpools. The scenery here is picturesque, with winding trails and houses scattered on quiet hillsides. No one would have thought that in this peaceful, almost dull place, one of the 3 most mysterious and terrifying missing person cases in Japanese history was about to unfold. The victim was Machioka Shinya, a bright-eyed, cheerful boy with a radiant smile, whose fate was destined to become the center of an unsolved mystery. The Machioka family of 5 lived happily in Ibaraki Prefecture. The father, Masami, was a diligent software engineer. The mother, Noriko, a gentlewoman, along with their 3 young children. A few days prior, sad news struck. The children's maternal grandmother passed away. The whole family rushed to drive a long distance to Tokushima for the funeral. After all the rituals were completed, instead of driving back that same night, they decided to stay at a relative's house in Shinbachi, deep in the mountains. The house was located at the end of a secluded road, surrounded by dense forest. It seemed like a reasonable decision to rest, but looking back, it was the fateful turning point that plunged the family into tragedy. On that fateful morning, the air was fresh and cool. Shinya's father, Masami, wanted to take advantage of the rare time before heading home to stroll with his children. He was usually busy with work, rarely having such leisure. The 3 children chattered around their father's feet, walking along the mountain path leading up to the house. Shinya, the 4-year-old 4th child, was particularly excited. He was an active boy, running and jumping tirelessly. When they reached the front of the house, the entrance was a rather long and steep stone staircase. While Mr. Masami carried the youngest child in his arms, Shinya insisted on climbing the steps himself. The adorable independence of a child inadvertently became the beginning of a nightmare. Shinya quickly climbed to the top of the stairs. He turned back to look at his father, his eyes sparkling with joy, and said he wanted to walk a little further. Mr. Masami smiled and agreed, telling his son to wait right there. He turned, took the youngest child and his eldest daughter into the house to his wife, who was preparing breakfast. The distance from the door to inside the house was only a few steps. He put the children down, turned around, and immediately walked back out. This entire action took only 40 seconds, no more, no less. He was convinced that when he returned, Shinya would still be standing there or running around the yard. But when the door opened again, all he saw was an empty, chilling void. "Shinya! Shinya!" Mr. Masami's calls echoed, gentle at first, then becoming urgent and panicked. There was no answer, only the sound of wind whistling through the trees and the eerie silence of the deserted mountains. He thought his son was too active and had run down the slope to play. He rushed down the only path leading away from the house, his eyes darting, searching for the familiar small figure. But the path was deserted. Not a soul, not a car. Shinya couldn't have run fast enough to disappear from his sight on such a long, secluded road in less than a minute. The father's intuition began to tell him that something extremely terrible had happened. Panic began to spread. Mr. Masami ran back to the house, mobilizing his wife and relatives to search. They overturned every bush, checked every nook and cranny around the house, shouting Shinya's name until their voices were hoarse. But all that answered them was desperate silence. The house was isolated, with very few residents nearby. If the boy had wandered off, there should have been traces, But strangely, there were no footprints, no cries, no signs of an accident or a fall. By 10 a.m., when all self-search efforts proved futile, the family decided to call the police. The nightmare officially began. Local police quickly arrived. Initially, they considered it a typical case of a lost child. Shinya's mother recounted that half a year prior, when visiting their hometown, the boy had been very keen to explore nature and was not afraid of strangers or new environments. Perhaps curiosity had led him deep into the forest. Immediately, a large force of police, firefighters, and local volunteers was mobilized. Over 100 people lined up, meticulously searching every square meter of the hill. But strangely, despite thoroughly scouring the area, they found not even a shoe or a piece of the boy's clothing. As night fell, the mountain temperature dropped sharply, and the fear for Shinya's life weighed heavily on everyone's minds. The next day, the search scale doubled. 200 people, along with Tokushima Prefecture's most professional police dogs, were brought in. These dogs had extremely sensitive noses, capable of sniffing out human scent from kilometers away. They were given Shinya's clothes to smell and released in all directions. However, the strangest thing happened. All the police dogs lost the boy's scent right at the staircase in front of the house. This meant that Shinya had not walked away from that area on his own. The boy seemed to have vanished on the spot or been lifted into the air by some force and carried away without touching the ground. The lost child hypothesis was gradually ruled out. Police began to shift their investigation towards the possibility of kidnapping or a traffic accident. However, the road leading to the relative's house was a dead end, with very little traffic. A farmer working 100 meters away confirmed not seeing any strange cars going up or down during that time. There were no tire marks or sudden brake marks on the road surface. If it was a kidnapping, the perpetrator must have acted extremely quickly, precisely, and seemed to have been staking out the area beforehand. But how would they know the Machioka family would stay here? They had only decided to stay overnight at the last minute the previous evening. Everything was contradictory and led to a dead end, turning this disappearance into an unsolvable puzzle. A week passed in vain. Hope of finding Shinya grew increasingly slim. The Machioka family was exhausted both physically and mentally. They planned to return to Ibaraki the next day to arrange for their eldest daughter's schooling, after which the father would return to continue the search. But on the very night before they left, a new detail emerged, more chilling and mysterious than anything that had transpired. The phone at the relative's house rang. Shinya's mother, Noriko, answered. On the other end was the voice of a strange woman, speaking with a thick Tokushima accent. She introduced herself as Nakahara Mariko, a parent of a classmate of their eldest daughter at kindergarten. The woman, who called herself Mariko, spoke in an eerily calm tone. We heard that Shinya went missing, so we organized a fundraiser to help. I wanted to ask when you will be returning to Ibaraki so I can send you the money. Noriko, confused and emotional, honestly replied that they would be leaving tomorrow. The woman thanked her and hung up. But immediately afterward, a cold current ran down Noriko's spine. Something was wrong. How could a parent all the way in Ibaraki, hundreds of kilometers away, know the phone number of this relative's house in Tokushima? This phone number had not been publicly disclosed in the media at that time. Immediately upon returning to Ibaraki, Noriko rushed to the kindergarten to find the woman named Nakahara Mariko. And the truth made her collapse. There was no parent with that name, nor any child with the surname Nakahara in the class. The school also confirmed that no fundraising drive had been organized. That phone call was a hoax. But what was its purpose? Why did the stranger know exactly where their family was and what their landline number was? The most terrifying hypothesis was raised. The caller was the kidnapper or an accomplice. They called to confirm whether the family had truly left Tokushima, to ensure the safety of their movement, or to dispose of evidence. Police immediately launched an investigation into the mysterious phone call, but 1980s technology was too primitive. They recorded the call, but could not trace the origin or location of the caller. The caller's number was not displayed. The only clue was the woman's voice, which had a Tokushima accent. This reinforced the hypothesis that the perpetrator was a local, familiar with the terrain, and knew the Machioka family's movements. Perhaps they had followed them from the funeral, trailed them to the relative's house, and waited for an opportunity. Those brief 40 seconds were not accidental, but the moment they had been lurking and waiting for a long time. The case reached a dead end. Police withdrew, and the large-scale search operation ceased. But for the father, Masami, the battle had just begun. He quit his job at the company, abandoning a promising engineering career to dedicate all his time to finding his son. He printed tens of thousands of flyers, traveling to every nook and cranny of Japan. He appeared on television more than 50 times, his eyes haggard and his voice trembling, pleading for anyone with information to come forward. Their family lived in a living hell. They dared not travel, dared not laugh, feeling guilty that Shinya was still lost somewhere out there. The house was devoid of children's laughter, only gloom pervaded. In the years that followed, scattered news about Shinya emerged, but all led to disappointment. A year after the incident, someone reported seeing a boy identical to Shinya in Yamagata Prefecture, but when Mr. Masami arrived, he found nothing. There was another report of the boy with a mysterious elderly couple at a temple, but then they too vanished like ghosts. Most notably was the testimony of a video store employee in China several years later. This person claimed to have seen a boy resembling Shinya with a man buying a Titanic movie poster. This detail raised suspicions that the boy had been taken abroad, possibly a victim of transnational human trafficking. Among the theories, one shocking hypothesis involved North Korea. In the 1970s-80s, there were many cases of Japanese citizens being abducted by foreign agents in coastal areas. A witness recounted seeing a strange man holding a boy resembling Shinya at Hiwasaka Beach, Tokushima Prefecture, right after the disappearance. When stared at, the man quickly covered the child's face and drove away. This area was known for frequent visits by strange boats. However, North Korea later denied it, stating that Shinya was only 4 years old at the time, illiterate, and useless for intelligence purposes. This theory gradually faded into oblivion. Desperate, the family even turned to supernatural forces. Mr. Masami participated in the TV program The Power of Television, where psychics were invited to see through the past. One person, claiming to be a former FBI agent with clairvoyant abilities, predicted that Shinya was still alive in a port city in western Japan. This prediction ignited a faint spark of hope for the old father. But then the press exposed that the FBI had no psychic department, and the program was actually staged to attract viewers. Hope, once kindled, was cruelly extinguished, leaving even deeper sorrow. Time passed. Mr. Masami's hair turned white, but he never gave up. In 2018, nearly 30 years after that fateful day, an unexpected event shocked public opinion in Japan. In a program for finding lost relatives on TBS, a young man named Wada Ryoto appeared. He had been found unconscious in a public restroom years earlier with complete amnesia. Ryoto recounted that he had been held captive by a middle-aged man for 17 years, denied schooling and contact with the outside world. His story sounded like a real-life horror movie. When Wada Ryoto's face appeared on television, millions of Japanese viewers were stunned. He had the same eyes, nose bridge, and mouth as Shinya did years ago. Even a small scar on his eyebrow matched Shinya's identifying features. Netizens were abuzz, comparing childhood and current photos, finding chilling similarities. Ryoto also wrote a strange symbol, S61, on paper. Coincidentally, 1986, Showa 61, was the birth year if Shinya's true age was calculated, although Shinya was actually born in 1985. A one-year discrepancy in memory is understandable. All of Japan held its breath, awaiting a miracle. Police immediately intervened, conducting DNA tests between Mr. Masami and the young man, Wada Ryoto. In the days awaiting the results, Mr. Masami was both happy and worried. He yearned for it to be his son, but a father's intuition told him something was different. He said, "No matter how old my son gets, I believe I will still recognize his eyes." And then the DNA results were announced. Negative. Wada Ryoto was not Machioka Shinya. The harsh truth once again dealt a fatal blow to the old father's heart. It turned out that Ryoto was the son of another family in Mie Prefecture. He had run away from home multiple times due to life pressures and fabricated the amnesia story. The Wada Ryoto incident concluded in bitter disappointment, but it also reminded the public that the Shinya case had never truly ended. Public opinion once again questioned, if not kidnapped, not lost, then where did Shinya go? Some returned to the Kamikakushi theory, hidden by spirits. This is a Japanese folk belief about children being taken by deities into deep forests. But in an age of science, no one could accept that explanation. There was another, more realistic but also more terrifying theory. The boy was snatched by a giant golden eagle. This bird has a 2-meter wingspan, strong enough to carry a 4-year-old child. But no one heard the sound of wings or any screams. Every theory had its flaws. Kidnapping requires time and planning. Accidents require traces. Wild animals require sound. But the Shinya case had nothing, only 40 seconds of deadly silence. The only thing left was the pain of those who remained. Shinya's mother, Noriko, lived her last days in torment. She once dared not work as a nanny for fear of seeing children the same age as her son. She switched to gardening, planting potatoes, Shinya's favorite food. Every harvest season, she worked with a naive and painful belief. Maybe Shinya will come home and dig potatoes with me. Noriko always maintained her health, trying to live as long as possible just to await the moment she could say, "Welcome home, my son." But fate was cruel. In 2020, she passed away, carrying an unfulfilled longing. She died without ever knowing the fate of her beloved son. The father, Masani, is now left alone on his solitary journey. He still keeps old photos, still gives interviews, still holds on to hope, even if it's just a tiny glimmer. He says that the promise to his deceased wife is the only motivation for him to continue living and searching. Looking back at this case, we see the terrifying nature of random coincidences. The family returned to their hometown for a funeral, decided to stay at a relative's house at the last minute. The father took his children for a walk and decided to let his son climb the stairs himself. If any single link in this chain of events had changed, perhaps the tragedy would not have occurred. If they had gone straight home the night before, if Mr. Masami had carried Shinya into the house, if they had chosen a different path. Tens of thousands of what-ifs swirl in the minds of those left behind, gnawing at their hearts every day. That is the cruelty of destiny. The Machioka Shinya case is not just a disappearance. It is a wake-up call for all parents about the safety of young children. Research by the University of Washington indicates that the time it takes for a kidnapper to successfully act is less than 30 seconds. We often think 40 seconds or 1 minute is short, is safe. But in the world of crime, that is an infinitely long time to commit a heinous act. A momentary lapse of attention can cost a lifetime of regret.
Returning to the mysterious phone call from years ago, to this day it remains the most important yet most perplexing clue. Why did the perpetrator risk making the call? Was it a pang of conscience, wanting to check on the victim's family? Or was it a morbid act of provocation? The voice of that woman has now faded into the past, but it still echoes in Mr. Masami's nightmares. Perhaps that woman is still alive somewhere in Japan, carrying the horrifying secret to her grave. Or perhaps she has died, taking the only solution to this case to the other side.
At one point, Japanese police even deployed helicopters and divers to search nearby lakes and streams. They left no possibility unexplored, no matter how small. But Shinya seemed to have vanished into thin air. Not a single bone, not a single personal item was found. This raised the hypothesis that the boy was taken far away immediately. The car carrying him could have quietly rolled down the hill as soon as Mr. Masami turned his back. The kidnapper might have used sedatives or restrained the boy instantly, preventing him from crying for help. Another notable detail is the scar on Shinya's face. It was the most important identifying feature. For 30 years, whenever there was a report of a young man with a similar scar, the police would go to verify it. But each time, the result was a resounding zero. Some fraudsters even exploited the family's pain to extort money, sowing false hopes. Human hearts are sometimes colder and more terrifying than the desolate mountains where Shinya disappeared. The cruelty of modern society has further deepened the Machioka family's emotional wounds. Mr. Masami once shared in a recent interview, "I'm afraid that the memory of Shinya will fade from people's minds, but for me, he will always be the 4-year-old child smiling at the top of the stairs that day." Time can erase all physical traces, but it cannot erase the image of a child in a parent's heart. The case has become a part of Japanese popular culture, a chilling story retold to warn children not to stray from their parents and to remind adults never to be complacent. There is another spiritual theory proposed. Could Shinya have accidentally stepped through some kind of spatial portal? It sounds outlandish, but when all scientific explanations fail, people often cling to the supernatural for comfort. That perhaps in some parallel world, Shinya is still alive, still growing up and happy, rather than suffering or being afraid. But no matter the theory, the harsh reality remains the empty chair at every Machioka family meal. Over 30 years have passed, and crime-solving technology has advanced by leaps and bounds. DNA, surveillance cameras, global positioning, all have developed. But the Shinya case occurred at a transitional time, when the old had not yet passed and the new had not yet arrived, causing all traces to slip away. If the case happened today, with dense camera systems and smartphones, Shinya might have been found. The outdatedness of the historical context was the silent accomplice that helped the perpetrator hide in the shadows for all those years. Revisiting the man named Wada Ryota, later identified as Kitazawa Kami. His story, though not directly related to Shinya, reflects a social reality in Japan, young people wanting to escape pressure, erasing their own identities. But Shinya was different. He did not voluntarily disappear. He was deprived of the right to grow up, the right to live his own life. The unfortunate confusion of the online community in 2018, though causing pain, also proved that society has not forgotten Shinya, still longing to find justice for the boy. Now, if he were alive, Machioka Shinya would be a middle-aged man nearing 40. Perhaps he is living a different life with a different name, completely unaware of his past. Or perhaps he lies somewhere in the cold ground of the Tokushima mountains. Whatever the scenario, the pain of those left behind remains the cruelest reality. Mr. Masami now has only one wish: to find his son, whether alive or as ashes, to bring him back to his mother's side. Shinya's story also raises a big question about the Japanese police system at the time. The delay in cordoning off the area, the shortcomings in tracing the call, and the initial complacency in treating it as a lost child case provided a golden opportunity for the kidnapper to escape. This is a painful lesson for law enforcement in handling child disappearance situations thereafter. Act immediately as if it is the most serious case, not wasting even a second. Holidays, birthdays, his wife's Memorial Day, each milestone is a knife twisting in Mr. Masami's heart. He watches Shinya's friends grow up, go to school, get married, have children. His son should have had a life like that too. The theft of a future is the greatest crime in this case. The perpetrator not only took a child, but he killed the future of an entire family, extinguishing the flame of happiness of a peaceful home. We who hear this story again may feel a chill, fear, or a curiosity. But let's take a moment to feel the loneliness of the old father. He is racing against time, against age and illness. He fears that when he closes his eyes, no one else on this earth will be looking for Shinya. At that point, the boy will truly die a second time, a death in the memory of the world. That is why we must tell this story, to keep this flame of hope from ever extinguishing. The mystery of the boy who vanished in 40 seconds will forever be a scar in the history of Japanese justice. It challenges the intellect of thousands of investigators and amateur detectives. But beyond the thrilling nature of a detective case, this is a story of sacred and immortal paternal love. No force, however dark, can sever the love that parents have for their children. Whether the distance is 30 years or a lifetime, that bond remains, vibrating with every painful beat. Today, when you see your children playing, hug them a little tighter. Cherish every peaceful moment with your family, because we never know when storms might strike. Life is more fragile than we imagine, and time is cruel, waiting for no one. Don't wait until you lose something to regret the moments of carelessness or the words of love left unsaid. At the end of the story, we have no satisfactory answer, no perpetrator punished, and no tearful reunion. There is only the image of the old father standing before the sea, gazing far into the horizon, whispering a promise to the wind. I will find you, Shinya. Hopefully, somewhere, whether in this world or the next, Shinya can hear that call. And may the soul of his mother Noriko bless them both, so that one day, the words, "Welcome home, my son," will truly echo, bringing closure to a sentence of conscience that has lasted for over a third of a century. Thank you for listening.